What's up, guys? So today it is Fortune Cat. So again, if you guys want to save some money, check the description down below. Put in the code Dakanoth and the AppCoin wallet for the rewards tab, and you can get 5% of your money. And of course, you got to install the game through the link below as well, but it's relatively straightforward if you already got your account set up with Google or something along those lines to log back in. Anyway, basic bottom line is you can obviously get some of your money back and then some on the gems with the Fortune Cap. We can also save a little bit more while using Aptoid. So it kind of works out to be a kind of a double whammy. Of course, we have an opportunity to get the Rainbow Guardian. So for anybody running the Counter-Strike builds, now is your time. Main thing though is obviously the event. So we have the Resplendent Eve. So we have the Sea of Lanterns, which is basically going to give you an interesting ability. It changes current HP. It basically changes current HP into 40% max HP during damage immunity. Now, it says after 15 seconds into the battle, you become immune to damage for 2 seconds, and you gain 15% of pretty much everything on final crit and everything and so on. Kind of interesting because once it ends, then it changes to 40% of your max HP during damage immunity. So I'm kind of curious as to how that actually works, but that's the old that. Then there's the Lantern Scroll. The Lantern Scroll, it gives you 1500% AoE skill damage, 600% current basic, combo, counter. And then if your current HP is lower than the target, then you deal extra damage equal to 4% of the current HP that you have, and it reduces your target's max HP by 4%, and it stacks up to 10 times, which basically means you could take up to effectively 40%. And if current attack is lower than the target's, then you reduce their active skill duration by 4%, which also goes up to 10 times, which means it could conceivably go all the way up to 40%. That is an interesting ability, being that it's modifying the active skill duration, which is to say that it will reduce the length of time that somebody would to use their main skill. As you guys all probably are aware, that active skill is, like in the case of a Plume Monarch, is what is responsible for giving you that little extra damage resistance debuff on the person that you're attacking. So the ability to basically negate their active skill is pretty important, and in this context, you're more than likely going to find that that piece of gear is going to be pretty dang helpful in that regard. Now, of course, they also have a community event going on, and on top of that, I know, obviously we've got the Lantern 7-day Spring Glee, so we might as well just go ahead and do our deviations, see what we get. Looks like we get some feathers, got some, we got another gold key, and another gold key. Whoop, yippee. And so with that in mind, we'll go ahead and take our 2 magic lamps there. And like so, we'll go ahead and start crunching away for hopefully some better pieces of gear. But all in all, that is really about what we have in the event right now. Again, we've got Mount Rush going on, so now's the time to spend your keys. If you already had some clock winders laying around, now's the time to use them. And you can get some of the Mount Rush rewards. Obviously, you want to try and get these as much as you can, because Divine Hammers are hard to come by. And really about the only time you can ever really get them is during events like these. So then you can then turn around and use said hammers on your artifact and basically level your artifact. So that's obviously pretty helpful. Now, with that in mind, you've also got, plenty of opportunity to basically get ahead in terms of where we are in the event right now. Now, I know that a lot of people are probably thinking, well, hold on, there's only 2 items. Now, worry not. There is also kind of a quick add option here with the Prosperous Honeypot. So if you do related tasks, you can basically quick add, give yourself prosperity, which when you get to a certain level, okay, you're going to get some loot. Obviously, the higher the level, the more loot. But one of the things, more than anything, that I think a lot of people will notice is that Infernal Blessing, that you might notice that, hey, wait a minute, there's something new in here. And if you're wondering what exactly is it, it's just like you would expect. It's another pal. the Serpent Spring. And this one's kind of interesting in that it reduces all enemies' final crit resistance by 8%. Which, that's kind of interesting in terms of, where it's adjusting the final crit resistance. So basically by dropping it by 8%, you've got an 8% debuff on their crit resistance. Which, if you're anybody running a plume build, having crit resistance is going to be pretty helpful if you want to reduce the amount of damage that they're able to really withstand. Now, like here, we've got crit rate and stun. Darn. I was really hoping that was something better. Too bad. Anyway, the main thing here is, obviously I'm still crunching away for specific gear pieces, and every once in a while we'll get lucky. Now, I've been stacking the amount of breeding cakes that I have, and really about all I plan to do in the near future is I'm actually going to be looking at, probably instead of using, Horus Sky God or Deity of Purs, or even Michelle for that matter, because I have played around with them and they're okay, but there's just certain elements about them that I'm not entirely fond of. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to return going back to what originally got the build kind of going, which is I'm either going to do a combination of what you get in Sunshine Bringer, which gives you, a substantial buff if, for example, you're able to get the one and only piece that you need, which is debuff immunity. And you might notice I don't actually have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and we're going to breed it with another one that also happens to have the desired trait that we're after, and which in this case it doesn't have it, so we're going to have to keep looking. Let's take a look and see if there's one in here. Okay, so yeah, there's debuff immunity, so that's what we're after. So we'll go ahead and mix those two together. But of course, we're not going to stop there. We're going to make sure we get as many of them as we can possible, and hopefully give ourselves the best chances. So we're going to go ahead and go down here again, and then take this one that's 1.4 that has Shrewd Combo and Trap, and let's take a look and see if we have any other options around here that also, too, have our desired debuff immunity. And again, not an easy thing to come across, but like this one here's got super attack and debuff immunity and shroom and rage bonus. These are all good things, so we'll go ahead and mix those two together. And now, as far as what I have left, as far as avians go that have desirable traits, and again, it does kind of take a while when you got so kind of many. But yeah, so like here you can see I've only got the last one. So with this one, we're going to look around and see if we can find one that actually has maybe a set. Like, for example, this one's got Meteor Feather. It's got a whole set. These are kind of interesting in that, you could potentially get a whole set of affixes, and that could be very helpful if you're ultimately aiming for something that's going to be a little bit more advantageous. But of course, whenever you go from like low stage to up stage, that is to say, like I don't know, if we look at let's see if I can find one that's actually worthy of our attention here. And again, there's not very many of them out there. Let's see if we can find one. What I'm looking for, more important than anything here, is we're really looking for anything that gives combo, but we're also wanting to pay attention to what exactly we've got out there. So like if we look at the breed preview here, you'll see what the percentages are of one dropping over the other, and it's about a 40% chance between the two of them, but you don't really know what you're going to get. But we're going to go ahead and breed those two together and see what we end up getting. And for the last one, since we no longer have an option really now at this point to kind of choose what kind of quality type we're going to get, we pretty much have the choice to look at it from, okay, we got like the 3-round shooter, for example. So we can kind of poke around and see, are there any other abilities here that we may end up using. So like something like, any of these epic all-round hit abilities, for example, would be nice to get carried over. So like all-around hit gives you 5% combo, and then it also gives you a little bit of extra added bonus. But again, you always want to look at this and pay attention to whether or not is that actually going to carry over. And you get a 39% chance of either one. So we'll go ahead and give this a try and see whether or not we'll actually get the correct drop that we're looking for. Now, with that in mind, I mean, really about the rest of this is pretty straightforward. I mean, you're just basically going through and dropping as much luck as you can possible. But even on this event, I would say about the only thing that you can do in this one more than anything is you can obviously rank. You can get a lucky embroidery, a jadeite snake, which is, you know, it's kind of cool. About the only real value that you'll probably get through here, though, is actually the Swordmaster costume slash, you know, this is female versus male. You know, and there's obviously like, if so, like say for example, we go down and we look at like, it doesn't necessarily matter whether they're berserker, warrior, what have you. It's just male or female. But as you can tell, that there is kind of like an option to get a costume here. Plus you can hit forks and use them to get incandescent lights and so on. So these are all an option. But as far as like the candlelight lantern's concerned, you hop into this. I mean, it's basically an arrow hitting game. So the idea is to basically hit your targets. And yes, this is a lot harder than it looks. Because it's kind of a tapping game. You have to basically do what amounts to the correct shot and hit it in the first time, you know, and that's a little tricky. And obviously, you know, that's the challenges that you have inside the candlelight lantern. And then from there, you can then turn around and you can use the prayer cranes to basically get yourself more and more stuff. You may be wondering, you know, which the fortune, you can basically go back into Candlelight Bliss from here and then use the candles to basically run drops. And then if you're lucky, you'll then acquire the wonderful items of question, right? And in here you have the option of getting the Lantern Scroll, or you can get the Premium Scroll, which is kind of a cool red version of that. You can also get the Golden Snake Blessing for 15. There's a lot of decent like prices here as far as like items and attachments and such goes. But I mean, I would say more than anything, you know, if there was anything in here that like, yeah, for like 15,000, if I just go ahead and burn on 15, okay, and I get a little bit, not a ton, right, but just a little, just to say that I've got it. You know, it's nice because you almost have enough. Yeah, so like right at 9, so it's almost enough to get like a divine hammer. It's, you know, it's just enough that I'll wait until I can get at least 10, and then I might be able to pick up some divine hammers or even some primeval breaths. You know, there's plenty of opportunity in there in terms of what you can gain out of it. So obviously, you know, make use of the event. Obviously, if you go down the festival goods route, you won't be able to go down it yet. But obviously, there will be more stuff as time goes on. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of the loot that you've seen here, guys, that's pretty much it. But again, you know, if you want to save some money, make sure you check down the description below. And I'll see you guys next time.